The job market has never been worse, especially for Gen Z new college grads, but it's probably not for the reason that you're thinking. And if you don't understand why you're actually struggling to get a job, you'll continue to fall behind in today's job market. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the real reason Gen Z can't get jobs and what you actually need to do about it. People love to just complain online without thinking about why they're having such a tough time. They love to empathize with other people that are facing the same issues so that they feel like they're not alone. People are sending hundreds of applications without ever getting a response back. Entry level positions are asking for multiple years of experience. And yes, I see the irony in entry level positions requiring years and years of experience. More and more companies announce that they are doing hiring freezes across every sector. AI screening tools are filtering people out before anyone at the company even takes a look at your resume to see if you're a good candidate for the job or not. Some of that has to do with the economy. When companies aren't growing fast, they're cutting costs, hiring less. That's kind of just a surface level look as to why the job market is so tough today. But here's where I'm going to lose some of you. The reason you specifically can't get a job probably has nothing to do with the economy or AI taking your job. The reason is way more uncomfortable, and it's something that's completely in your control, but we like to look for excuses as to why we can or can't do something. The job market is extremely competitive, which just means if you have no connections, poor resume, no real experience, and a useless degree, you're going to have a really tough time getting a job. And that's not the economy's fault. In a way, it's kind of your fault. Let's just think about what I'm saying for a second and the reality of the situation. More and more people are getting university degrees than ever before, nearly 40% of the population in the US. And what happens when more people have degrees? It raises the bar across the board. A bachelor's degree used to mean something special 30, 40 years ago, and now it's the standard to even get your foot in the door. You basically can't apply to a white collar job without having one. So if your only qualification is I have a degree, you're not special, you're average, and average doesn't get hired in a competitive market. Here's something that really does frustrate me, though. It's that a lot of people are getting completely useless degrees. And I'm going to be blunt because somebody needs to say it. If you got a geography degree, what the fuck are you to do with a geography degree? Like, I want someone to explain to me, walk me through a 10-year kind of step-by-step routine on how you're going to pay off $80,000 in student loans with a geography degree. And it's not just geography. I don't mean to, bash all the geologists out there or anyone with a geography degree, but biology, sociology, philosophy. And listen, this is coming from someone with a communications degree. So all these degrees might sound interesting and cool when you're applying to schools, but they have basically zero application in the job market unless you're going to graduate school or just using it as a stepping stone. People graduate with these degrees, literally not a single thing on the resume besides mopping floors at McDonald's, and then wonder why they can't get a job. What frustrates me even more about all this is that it's not even the person's fault. It's the universities that are offering all these degrees, collecting tuition money, and then these kids can't find jobs when they graduate. The universities don't care if the degree is useful or not because they're making money regardless, licking their chops at the thought of some blue hair Karen enrolling in gender studies at their college. What I believe should happen, I think the introduction of AI is only going to accelerate this, is universities should start underwriting their loans. If a student graduates with a degree from your school and they can't find work within a certain amount of time, let's say 6 months to a year, the university should have to take on part of that loan so that they actually have some skin in the game and then they don't just burden the students with all this debt with a garbage degree. Because right now, what's the incentive for a university to actually prepare students for the job market? There isn't any. They can offer whatever degrees they want, charge whatever they want, and they get paid regardless of whether that degree actually leads to a job. That's just insane and kind of backwards. If universities had to eat part of the costs when their graduates couldn't find work, you see these useless degree programs disappear really quick and they'd start focusing on degrees and skills that actually lead to employment. But as it stands now, there's basically just setting their kids up to fail, facing zero consequences for it. I graduated last year, and the only thing my university reached out to me about post-graduation was to donate money to the school's smaller programs and the marching band. Like, my fucking tuition for the last 4 years wasn't enough. It is really unfortunate that Gen Z specifically was born into the exact time in history where for the previous generations, going down the right path of doing good in school, going to good universities was good enough to land a job out of college, no problem. And that's not the reality of today for the most part, but you're not hearing that from anyone. And that's what's really setting up a lot of people my age up for failure. So now let's talk about what actually matters when you're trying to get a job. Because if you understand this, you can fix your situation instead of just complaining about it. First, your degree and certifications matter, but it's only really applicable to law, engineering, accounting, nursing. These degrees almost provide you a direct path to employment. These professions are essentially gated by laws and regulations, meaning the government is protecting your employment. And that's not even to mention that these professions are always in demand. You can't become a nurse without going to nursing school. You can't become an accountant without getting your CPA. And you aren't going to be a lawyer without going to law school. Second, experience matters more than your degree. And I don't mean working at McDonald's or working for your friend's dad's pool cleaning company in the summer. I mean actual applicable experience in the field that you want to work in. It's projects, freelance work, starting your own stuff. That's what companies really care about. Aside from an internship for one summer during college, I never got a 9 to 5 before this past fall, but my resume was pretty full with tons of different experiences, but also proven metrics that showed my employers that I was able to do things and get them done. And that's something a lot of people definitely overlook when applying. Companies are not only looking for hard skills, but they are also looking for soft skills. Being able to build up the confidence and mental toughness is a lot more valuable than, oh, look, he went and got a 4-year degree and so did the other 1,000 applicants that applied. So if you're in school right now and don't have any real experiences besides your classes and degree, you're already kind of behind. Start something, build something, freelance work, projects, get internships. A lot of schools will actually help you get internships if you use your resources network. But again, it's really up to you to take charge and get it done. Third, networking matters more than you think. And I know everyone says this, I'm going to say it again because it's true, but most jobs are filled through connections and referrals, not through cold applications on LinkedIn. Meet people everywhere you go. Talk to them, be nice, be genuine. Going to these little networking conferences and stuff like that is cringe. And honestly, I've been to a few conferences for work, and a lot of the interactions kind of feel forced and not totally natural. And I don't find that's kind of where my best connections have come from. But I mean, for my job, I didn't have any referrals or any experience in the software industry. I just applied on LinkedIn like everyone else. I had to go through 6 interviews, which is kind of ridiculous for any job. But even when talking with the people who interviewed me at my work, they told me that they get thousands of applications a month for a few openings and that 99% of the resumes are low effort garbage. And they're immediately brushed to the side because how are they expected to do what job they're applying to if they can't even put together a solid resume? Watch YouTube videos, talk with classmates, colleagues about their input on your resume. Do something, because if you're sending 500 applications and getting little to no interviews, then stop complaining about the job market and instead look to see if there's something you can improve on or do differently. Because I wish complaining on X into the echo chamber would pay for the bills, but unfortunately it doesn't. With that being said, the job market isn't perfect, and that there's no reason to feel what you're feeling, because it does suck to get in the job market in 2026 as a Gen Z, but it's not impossible. And the reason you're struggling isn't because the system is broken. It's probably because you don't have the qualifications that the companies are looking for. So in reality, you have 2 choices as a Gen Z in 2026 entering the workforce: complaining about how unfair everything is and keep sending applications that go nowhere, or you can take some responsibility, fix the things that you can control, and actually make yourself hireable. The great thing about not being able to find a job is that a lot of it is in your control because companies are always hiring. It's just your job to get in front of them and make yourself stand out to give yourself a fighting chance. That's the reality of applying to jobs in 2026 as a Gen Z. It's tough, but not impossible if you actually have something to offer. Comment down below, what's your experience with job hunting? Are you struggling, or did you figure something out? I want to hear your perspective. If this video helped, drop a like, hit the subscribe, and I'll see you at the next one.